Hello, and welcome to the Dennis Rodman episode of the Hoop Theory Podcast, aka episode 91, which is in honor of him being the best player ever to wear the jersey number 91. Recording this one on the evening of Monday, June 24th. My name is Logan Wertman, and as usual, I'm joined by my worm-like co-host, Jacob Roth. Ooh. Jacob, how does it feel to be on the Dennis Rodman, aka the Worm, episode?
Feels pretty good. Was that like on purpose, probably? Worm-like and the
Yes.
Worm, yeah. Feels good. Happy to be here. A lot of great things going on. JJ Redick had his introductory press conference today, and I'm excited. I think that I'm probably on the more excited level or side of it than the majority of people. I think it's going, I think a lot of people think he'll be a good coach, but I think that the general consensus is there'll be some stumbling. But I'm excited to be on the Worm episode. I was trying to think, because usually when we've gotten up into these higher numbers, there's been not all of them, but some of them, there's okay, we got to figure out what's going on.
Drew Gooden last episode.
Who's going to be this person? This one, there was no conversation. I didn't even think about it. And that's because it was pretty easy for being this high of a number. There's not very many EPs that are this high that are going to be that brain dead easy to just figure out and do. But the exciting part is we're almost ready to start just loop things all back around as we're knocking on the door of a hundo.
Yeah, that's true. And technically, this might be, I don't know if this will count as the first episode of season 4 of the Hoop Theory podcast. I don't know when, I guess, last season ends and this season starts, this next season starts, but it should be around now because we're talking about the draft,
Yeah, it'd probably be now.
Yeah, so this might be episode 1 of season 4. We'll see once I put it in post. But to start off talking about the draft, like I just alluded to, this year, I mean, we've talked about it a little bit on this podcast about how, kind of lackluster the very top of the top is in this draft, but then how deep it goes.
You've got 14 guys that are 7 to 14. So you have double the guys that are those low lottery, high lottery picks, whatever way you want to. I hate that. It's so dumb. My brain can't get my head around it. The numbers are high, but it's later on in the lottery.
Yeah.
The second half of the lottery, there's almost everyone in the top half of the first round will be that level of guy. There's just no one that the Hawks are yeah, we got the first pick. Let's go. There's no one that's that level of nutso bananas there has been in previous years where there's been multiple people that you're honestly, that's probably worth a try at number 1.
Yeah.
I mean, last year was just turn her brain off and hit the Wembanyama button. But then the year before that, there was a couple of guys to pick from. The year before that, there was a couple of guys. So we have been a couple years removed from having a big old dud in terms of the top end talent. But if you are a team that is a bubble team, for example, I think you love this draft because you're I could get somebody that would normally go top 10 and I'm at the bottom of the lottery. This is awesome. This is sick. Love to see it. But that's not the case for the people at the top, so they got to kind of get their life figured out. So,
yeah, that's true. And just in the last couple of weeks, I'm seeing draft boards jump all over the place that nobody knows what's up.
I don't think anybody does know. I feel the longest run at the top has probably been SAR, but then recently I feel the top dog has been Klingen. I feel has gotten a long run of it's probably him. It might be him. But then there was some report that the Hawks aren't super in love with him. So then I think that shuffled things up again because that's just what they've been doing perpetually. But it'll be interesting to see how things end up going. I think the more interesting with the Hawks is they're a team that I think could end up selling. But this is not the year you sell into this year's draft. You sell and get into future drafts, and maybe that's Nets will give you the number 1 overall pick if you give us your next 2 picks, which they don't have any, so that example was a terrible one. But if they were to look at the Wizards or somebody and be we don't want this pick, do you want it for 2 years from now? We'll also give you something else. I think we'll see more of those type of movements in this year's draft, and like, I don't think we'll see a chalk like, oh, this is who we're taking. Just keep on going down the list, because there's like no point there's no real incentive. And one of the reports, and that's probably where the Nets were on my brain, that I've seen is that the Nets are like, get us into this. We have no draft capital. We have nothing. Nobody really wants their picks this year. We will give you what little we have to get something. Because they're not bad picks, especially if you have a guy that could potentially be like kind of your anchor in that the Nets do in Bridges. Maybe that'll be like, oh, we'll try to build around him a little bit and get a couple play-in berths, maybe a couple just regular playoff qualifications. Maybe that's a big maybe, but it's an interesting year on that aspect, but not because the chances of this draft impacting the course of NBA history, I would put at a 0.5 out of 10.
I guess I don't know how to measure that. I
don't really know either, but like if we go to like the last year's draft, I would consider that one like pretty just because of Wemby alone. But then you go back 2 years, the Paolo, Jabari Smith and Chet, shout out.
Yeah.
I feel like that is
You're wearing a Chet jersey for audio listeners.
I didn't get to the 7. I just put up the Oklahoma City.
I was more just saying for audio listeners.
Oh, yeah. I forgot that's like the whole half of the audience there. I'm a silly goose.
Yeah.
I am wearing a Chet jersey today. I decided to, I got a new thing. It's called a box of jerseys. So I've got a cardboard
box. It's like
box.
A website or something?
No.
You named it.
I have an Amazon box that was really big that had like decorations for my children's birthday party. And I put all my jerseys in there and I shook it up and I grabbed a jersey. And that's the jersey I'm wearing today.
Okay, so that's what you're going to be doing for like the episodes, you're saying?
Yeah, and now that I've got all the Celtics starters, and like, I think I'll probably snag the City Edition of Peyton Pritchard next.
You don't have any Peyton Pritchards yet?
I don't have a Peyton Pritchard.
Yeah.
But I think that'll probably be my next one, and then after that, I'm just going to start getting like vibes type of jerseys, like a Dream Team Charles Barkley, or a Larry Nance, like Blueberry Cavs jersey, like an OG Larry Nance. Maybe Larry Nance Jr. Pelicans jersey with the sleeves. I don't know. I'm just going to start getting vibes jerseys instead of just Celtics only, like getting the whole team built up, you know, unless there's like, I don't know. I feel like what I wish would have happened a tiny bit. This is going to go down a jersey rabbit hole and we'll do a whole jersey thing. But like 2 years ago, the Celtic City Edition, they used the font that they put on the banners. And I wish that they would have not done that yet. And that could have been our next year's City Edition, was the banner font on a jersey after you got the 18th banner. I also am still riding that high. I'm looking forward to 19 and 20 because I think the Jays will get us those. But man.
Yeah, you said that last episode too.
And I'll say it until I die. I'm going to go 2025 and 2027's championships. Those are going to be the two.
So
we won't repeat.
We'll go back to back.
And then we'll lose one. We'll lose in a hard-fought battle, losing in the Eastern Conference Finals to
the Minnesota Timberwolves.
The Magic. That would actually be wild. It's the Minnesota Timberwolves after they moved to. I should lock that in, because if that's right, it's over. We're gonna be on ESPN, or Fox FS1 or wherever. I don't care where we go. It'll be cool though. They'll lose to the Minnesota Timberwolves, who have just moved to the Eastern Conference in the conference finals. And then they'll be like, revenge tour, get the nice round 20, and then the Lakers will still be back on 17. I hear some people, though, consider the Lakers to only have 12 because they don't know if the Minnesota one should count. I'm just kidding. I was at one point in time. I feel like if any franchise like has like the iffy claim over some titles, it's that one, like in all major sports. Because, like, the Lakers claim those titles out of, like, we need to be close to the top.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't like, because they didn't used to claim, well, they've always claimed the titles, but they've never claimed anything else with the Minneapolis Lakers.
Or something like that?
Last season, the beginning of last season.
But they did have a Lakers throwback that they had. I don't remember when that throwback was, where they had a Minnesota throwback.
Does that matter? If you're not putting the best player, one of the best players in league history, let alone your franchise history, you're not even putting his jersey in your rafters until you tie the Celtics, including his titles.
Yeah. Valid. Honestly, on your side on this one, I was just kind of like defending the Lakers' honor and saying like they did not completely ignore the MPLS. They did recognize them, and they had some throwbacks.
Sure, yeah. I mean, if that's what matters.
It's not at all.
But
also, did I get the letters right? I'm kind of proud of myself.
Minneapolis St. Paul? MSP?
MPLS is what is on the jerseys.
Oh, because that's the Minneapolis
they
Lakers.
wore those back in Froby era.
Yeah, they've had those for forever, yeah.
I did not realize that.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I think they've always been at least like okay with calling back to the brand of it, but I guess I don't know they didn't want to
not
include
retiring Mikan's number the second that like yeah, that's obnoxious.
I don't know why there was ever a period where it would, because I'm guessing the time where it would have been like, oh, now it's time to retire him was probably around the time they moved to LA. You know what I mean? So that's probably where it was like, oh, we don't really consider ourselves the Minneapolis Lakers anymore, just for that time being. And then later it was like, oh, let's call back to our old time, you know?
I feel like what they should have done is like they had to have known that the T-Wolves were coming. Just the season, sometime in the season before there was a different team in Minnesota, that should have been their deadline for it to be acceptable. That's the deadline of like, this is okay. We're claiming we were Minnesota before the Timberwolves, but instead of waiting until almost 25 years of Timberwolves history to exist, it's just, well, anyway, we don't need to rehash this. It's a whole thing. This draft class is wild. George Mikan would be the best player if he was in this draft class.
I don't think that's
it's not a hot take at all. I think that's rather mild.
Yeah. Well, I guess unless you want to go down the rabbit hole of trying to compare in this hypothetical, did he get born and raised in this generation, or is he just drag and dropped in here as like straight out of the 1940s, you know?
I'd like to think that I think the 1940s, they'd have enough like kind of like fire in their soul that they would like find a way to be, if they're talented, obviously.
Yeah. And he's big.
And he's big. Like I feel like, I'm not saying that he would be like the first superstar of all time, isn't he credited with that kind of?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
But I feel like he would still like, okay, I'm getting a rotation spot. I'm angry.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to think about just like people with the most primitive basketball skills. You know what I mean? Like,
I know, I'm just going off of sheer grit. Just sheer grit. Do you think Dylan Brooks could have stormed Omaha Beach? No. George Mikan could have.
What?
The greatest generation, like that. I don't think that like our age of people or like could have like done the whole World War II, 18 years old, right out of high school, stormed Omaha Beach. I don't think that there's very many people, myself included, that have the gall and the guts to be able to do that. And then everyone back then just kind of could. They just did it. And so I just feel like there's something to that quality that doesn't get enough like
recognition.
You know, like there's something different in the water. Obviously not in the water, but like there's just a certain level of grit that I don't think that almost anyone of our age possesses.
Yeah.
Because that's quite the daunting task if you think about it.
Yeah, but he also probably would dribble like Stanley from The Office with his left hand, you know?
Very true.
But I know, I get what you're saying, though. There's probably, you need to get more of consideration to just the grit and moxie.
Like, they'll figure it out. They'll get it done. It might take a couple seasons, but they will figure it out.
Yeah, just that generation of
also,
guy.
I don't know why I picked Dylan Brooks, but
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I was like, I don't know. I kind of feel like Dylan Brooks could be pretty aggressive on a battlefield, but I don't know.
That's true. Also, he would have also been Canada stormed Juno Beach at Omaha Beach, so historically accurate also as he is a Canadian.
Juno Beach, it
was one of the 5 beaches of D-Day.
Okay.
It was Sword, Juno, Gold, Utah, and the big one, Omaha. I knew I'd get there.
Oh, okay. I was confused. I was like, was Omaha not one of them? And it's just
Omaha is for sure one of them.
Okay.
Because it was Omaha. This honestly could just be a tidbit theory after the fact.
Yeah.
Honestly, I'm going to save it for next year's June 6th.
Oh, because that's the
anniversary of the day. Honestly, it would have been way better for this year because this was the 80th anniversary, but the 81st anniversary is also a good one, I guess.
A Kobe anniversary.
Oh, 81. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't draw that. Anyway, I will stop babbling, but at some point, can you add this to like things to talk about in the future? The Canadian team is terrifying. If you just look at the Canadian Olympic roster.
Yeah. We're going to definitely talk about the Olympics this is off-season.
Nutso McGee. Like, this is going to be...
Other than big men, but yeah. They got Kelly O and Zach Edey. Those are the 2 big men.
I get that it's not, like, the scariest thing ever with the big men, but, like, the big men they do have can, like, alter shots at the rim at the minimum.
Yeah, but I feel like Jokic and Embiid are going to dominate that roster.
Yeah, that's true.
Zach Edey's not going to be 5 fouls, I believe, is the limit in FIBA. And then Kelly Olynyk is going to be mincemeat.
Stop.
What?
That is a Celtics legend.
Yeah, but he can't guard Jokic or Embiid. He just can't.
He can guard Embiid.
Unless he tries to dislocate their shoulder or something.
He can guard Embiid.
I don't think so. Unless he tries to dislocate his shoulder, pull the Kelly classic on him.
No comment.
You remember that Kevin Love?
Comment.
Yeah, that was pretty aggressive. That's probably his.
That was like Draymond. No, not kind of, sort of. Draymond's more of like a. It's like shockingly like that was way more violent than I anticipated, and I kind of anticipate violence out of you.
Yeah, that's true.
Anyway.
That's a great way to put it. But yeah, Canadian team, we'll talk about them sometime. Even more than we just did. But yeah, going back to this draft though, that's going to be happening in 2 days from now, which that's another thing that I wanted to talk about last episode, but I forgot to bring it up. This is the first year, I think ever. I don't know if they've ever done this before, that they're splitting the first 2 rounds up into 2 different days. And I thought that was interesting. I'm guessing it's probably, I haven't heard anybody talk about this, but something that came to mind was like, what if it's only because of Bronny? That like then the second round can be Bronny's day. You know what I mean?
Okay, but here's a counter theory.
Mm-hmm.
Bronny is the most valuable player in terms of as an asset after like the 20th pick. So is there a world...
Didn't we just talk about how deep this draft is? I don't know if that's true. After the 20th pick?
As an asset, not as a player. Just as an asset. Because the phony that has been portrayed in front of me is the Celtics draft him at 30 and hold him hostage. Just as an asset, not as a player. Because like...
Yeah.
Because then there's
hostage. What do you mean by that?
Like, LeBron's not going to go play in Boston. And that's like his whole dream. It would just be the most...
His whole dream is to
play with this kid. With Bron.
Yeah, but it sounds like he's not too set on doing that this next year. Like, because it sounds like LeBron has basically delivered the message that just because the Lakers draft Bronny doesn't mean he's going to stay there. Like he might be leaving the Lakers even if they draft Bronny this season.
Yes, but then like if he would want to go play with Bronny at some point.
Yeah, for his last season, let's say.
And Bronny is one of the best players on the main Celtics. But I also don't think that he would sign. I think he would just be a nothingness blob. Clutch would not let him sign, I don't think, if that were to happen.
Oh, sign with the Celtics?
Yeah, I don't think... This is like a thing that I've seen is like, the Celtics should draft Bronny because like the potential like value that he would bring and like LeBron hypothetically wants to play with him in the future.
Yeah.
is like almost worth more than anything that you could provide for your roster through the draft on draft day.
Maybe, yeah.
And it's a very, in like a Celtic scenario where your top 9 guys are sticking around and they're under contract, and it's not really a worry.
It's just an extra
honestly,
roster
a throwaway
spot
that might turn into something, but it won't. And this is all a joke and it's hypothetical. And I
think he might turn into a real NBA player. I think he can.
I think that he should have been a UNC/Duke type of player, or more UNC than Duke, a UNC type of player, and just been there for like 2-3, cooked a little bit.
College.
No, he is not a one and done prospect, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but his name is a one and done prospect, so that means that he decided to be one and done.
Yeah, it's true.
Also,
that's true.
Credit to Bronny for even being able to play basketball, because like he wasn't like, oh, you're just bad and you don't play at USC. His like heart almost stopped. Like I don't think that is something that gets enough like, oh, he like worked his way back and played this season. Like that's worth noting. I
think he was in cardiac arrest, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it's
basically what causes people to die every time someone dies is cardiac arrest, you know?
Maybe it's like the most, I want to say that, yeah, and I don't know any of the details.
I'm just saying technically everyone who dies, ultimately what they die from at the very end, regardless of what got them there, was they die from cardiac arrest, because that's what makes your body stop working, is not pumping blood and functioning anymore. You get what I'm saying?
I think cardiac arrest is when your heart suddenly stops beating. It's not like it's like a separate thing than your heart stops beating. It's like a separate thing. It's it doesn't make sense and it stops.
Okay. I just thought that
if the rest of your body is shutting down, and then your heart stops, it's not like sudden. It just, I think there's the caveat of it has to be suddenly for it to count as cardiac arrest, I believe.
Okay. Yeah, that would make sense. So never mind then. But yeah.
But
anyways,
to the point of, it's not a thing that like peak physical condition athletes usually ever have to go through, but he did. And then the fact that he was like able to play, like ready to play before the season was over, is a testament to some sort of work ethic that he's got. It's not just all and then the physical abilities that he does have. It's not like he's an insano athlete. He's just not as big as LeBron is.
Yeah, he's like a 6'2", probably 6'2", actually. 6'2" guard. He's good defensive player. Like I think his main comp that I've seen that I'm like, yeah, I think that really works, and I think that is like a good comp for him, is Gary Payton II. Like that's what like he could be hypothetically. And potentially even more if he works on his shot and is able to get that consistent. But his shot is like a lot worse than even you would think. Like it's like he shot like 19% on catch and shoot threes in his freshman year of college, which he didn't have a huge sample, obviously, but still not like usually you don't hear it below the 20 percentile. Like that's
as a
pretty
guard.
wild. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that is a weird thought that I haven't even thought of, is that day 2 is just going to be like Bronny watch, like the whole time.
Uh-huh. Unless somebody's really bold and takes him on the first day.
Which then that would be hilarious if they just like cancel tomorrow. We're just doing everything today. Just put it all. We're just gonna put it all into one broadcast and then like run a rerun of the 2003 draft or something. I don't know. We'll just do something else tomorrow.
But they are not. It's like the time slot for the second one, or not necessarily the time slot, but what it's being shown on the broadcast for it is not being treated near as prime time. Obviously, it's like starts at like 3 on Thursday, something like that.
So it's almost like not a. I don't want to say it's not a thing, but
I mean it's still on ESPN and I can't remember what the other channel was, but it's not on ABC, which that's the big one that the first round gets. Is it's on ESPN, ABC, and then it's starts at like 5:30 or 6 or something like that.
8
Eastern.
p.m. Eastern.
That's when it starts?
Yes, sir.
Oh, what was I? Maybe I was looking at Pacific, or I don't know what I was looking at that had the time that, because 3 o'clock is what I saw for Thursday, and it was
which is 3 Central.
Oh, okay.
4 p.m. Eastern.
So, but it's still a pretty big difference in I thought it was only like 2 hours difference from what Wednesday was, but
it's definitely not prime time, even close at all.
Yeah, for sure.
The Thursday one is not.
Mm-hmm. Starts at 4 Eastern. Yeah. It's most people are not home from work, even on the Eastern seaboard. So it's not a great time for it to be going on. But so maybe they're not putting all that stock in, all that much stock in people watching for Bronny then. Because if they were, I feel like they would, be more of an event. But honestly, I do like the idea of splitting up the rounds, because it just makes it less of a drag on the first night, and then it makes like the second round much more like, it feels like it's like its own thing, or it feels like those picks matter more in a certain type of way. When you're starting off, like the first pick of the second round is like the first one that's been announced all day. But yeah. So
I like the way the NFL does it. Round 1 is one night, 2 and 3 is the next night, and then an all-day event is 4 through 7. Obviously, the NBA does not have as many rounds to do.
Yeah.
But it still gives, like, the pizzazz. A 3-day spectacular.
Yeah, I like that, too.
I was also wondering, should the NBA do an MLB? And they just be weird, and the end, it'll never happen. But I think that it would be an interesting idea. The NBA draft would be All-Star Weekend.
Is that what the MLB does?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Why do they do that?
Because it's awesome.
It's because the college season and the pro season is so much different, though, is why.
Yeah.
That wouldn't make any sense for NBA, because the players would be in the middle of their season in college.
It would still be cool. Just as like a spectacle. I understand that like logistically there's nothing, but the spectacle of the NBA draft being during that like All-Star when everything's going on would be awesome.
Yeah, that's true. Huh. Maybe combining Summer League with the draft or something like that. That wouldn't make any sense either, because
then they wouldn't have a way to do Summer League stuff. Yeah.
It's just that Summer League is like a massive event. Like everybody goes to, everybody in the NBA world.
Oh, next point. The NBA season shifts entirely. Back, so it's, instead of starting in October, it starts in November. Then the All-Star break could be in like mid-late March as opposed to February. So then you could do it. This whole thing can get cut.
You still probably wouldn't be able to do it, because April is when the championship game,
the actual end. They make them move their championship up a tiny bit
to accommodate, all to just get it going on during the draft or during the All-Star weekend,
which would be awesome. That would be high energy octane event.
Like, because do they how do they do it in the MLB? Like when the draft happens,
it's like a different day.
It's just it's all at the same location, though.
Yeah, it's like during the All-Star break week.
So then all like the main stars, faces of the league are there in attendance. Yeah, that would be interesting if they could do something like that. And then baseball is
also totally different, because like nobody gets drafted and then goes and plays for their team. You go and play for like minor leagues teams.
Yeah,
like the only people that do that are like you were in the Hall of Fame and there's not a question. Like you're that insano to go straight to the main. Like no one does that. That's not real life.
So like the first pick every year usually won't even.
Mm-mm.
Oh wow, it's insane how much of a ramp up baseball players need to get to like their peak or whatever. It's interesting,
because I believe scientifically, the phenomenon in sports that makes the least amount of sense in terms of what the human body can do is hitting a 90+ mile an hour fastball. It doesn't make sense. They're confused how scientifically players are able to even do it. Like it does not compute.
And so do players get better at that as they get older, you're saying?
I just know that like the quality of pitching increases exponentially.
Oh yeah.
Just because you're with more, it's way harder. Baseball's a weird deal.
Yeah, it is. But yeah, so to talk about some of the guys in this draft though, that I have an eye on or that I really like. I'm not like super plugged in with all of the guys here. I know that Nikola Topic, he was one guy that I had an eye on and I really liked for a little while during the year, but it sounds like I don't know if he's going to slide necessarily, but he's definitely not going to be as high as he could have been at one point. Like he was talked about being even at one point, like a potential number 1 guy, but he tore his ACL not too long ago, like a month ago, maybe not even. And that's pretty big for, a player entering the draft to have that big of an injury. And then another guy that I really liked is Reed Shepherd. And that's honestly, if I had to pick one guy who I would, if I had the number 1 pick in the draft and like take out of account, like who's fit on what team, it's just a vacuum.
Yeah, it just find the best gem, find the gem essentially.
Yeah,
because that's what you're doing in this draft. Is if you find somebody it's finding the gem.
Yeah, I think my pick would be Reed Shepherd out of Kentucky.
Yes, because the ceiling, and I'm overselling it a little bit, but like the ceiling is like bad Steph Curry. Like not like the same level of like changed basketball Steph Curry, but like 2015 Curry where he's still nuts, but he hasn't quite ascended into like, this isn't fair. We can't do anything. Or maybe it'd be 15 Curry. I'm going to stick with that. That's like the ceiling for Reed Shepherd. It's like there's a chance that he's like that insano, I think.
Yeah. It's hard to be Steph, obviously. Like, maybe as like a shooter. I don't know if he's going to be all that active off ball in that same exact way. Have like the motor and the mind for the game. I
didn't want to call him like a way better JJ Redick because I didn't know. I just was trying to think of like.
Well, I think he's going to be more of a guard with the ball in his hands. You know what I mean?
Yes.
More than.
And then he also is a lot better defensively than I think he gets his flowers for, just because of like
his height.
Him being I think that he is pretty solid at that, like, kind of feel for the defensive side, and then just is also an insano shooter.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, for sure. And he's also really sneaky athletic. Like he blocks a lot of shots like around the rim and stuff from just, clips and highlights that I've seen. But that's just one guy that I feel like he's just got a lot of the qualities that really stick out to me when I'm just like looking at basketball players. Like even though he's small, it's like there's plenty of guys that slide and get doubted, because of their size and like those question marks, and look at them now, like, Steph Curry or Jalen Brunson or
Peyton Pritchard.
Peyton Pritchard, Trae Young, all these
Derek
guys
White.
That he's like 6'5".
I just want to throw him out there. Honestly, maybe is that the best comp?
For who?
Reed Shepherd, just like a small Derek White. The 3 that can kind of run the ball, really solid defensively, kind of because of the instincts.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, I feel like he's just like a little bit tinier Derek White.
Maybe.
Obviously, what makes Derek White nutso is like the size helps him do a lot of the things he does, like go up and block people that he should not try to do. But anyway, I feel like that might be even more of like the actual player that, like, maybe not the ceiling of him, but like that he has shades of that. I think that's what they say in like draft guides and stuff. Shades of whoever. I feel like Derek White is a shade of Reed Shepherd has shades of Derek White.
Yeah, no, I could see that. Probably just like a little bit smaller version of him, and then add in like more, like he's more of a traditional point guard. You got a little bit more of that, And
the shooting comes with, it doesn't have to grow. It's just there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, he's definitely, I'd say, the best shooter in this draft, based off of what little I know, but still, like the volume and the efficiency is like, it's one of the best college seasons ever in terms of shooting. So it's hard to go wrong there. I feel like it'd be wild if he ended up like a not good shooter. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. But yeah, Reed Sheppard would be my number 1 pick probably. But the fit where I like him the best is at 4, honestly.
Anywhere that's not Atlanta.
I mean, unless Atlanta's trading Trae Young.
Trae's getting moved on.
Yeah. Then I think Atlanta's as good as any. But what's, I think, better than anything is him being on the Spurs with Wemby.
Oh,
that's why I like him at 4.
I forgot the Spurs at 4. When you said 4, I was like, yeah, that's the Spurs. That would be wowza.
Yeah, I want to look at where the draft guide or the mock draft on the Ringer has him. They have him at 3 on the mock draft. So he's going to the Rockets on that one. And Mattis Buzelis is actually going to the Spurs at 4. Who, for those who don't know, is like a 6'9", do-it-all kind of wing from the G League. The last class of the G League Ignite, because they're ending that. So he was on the final.
Just the G League Ignite, not the entirety of the G League.
Mm-hmm. To be clear.
Clarification on that one.
So like Reed Sheppard, I like him at 4 to the Spurs, but like I said, that would be sliding for me, if I was the GM there. So I think that's going to be a really good value pick if they do get him there. The Rockets is a team that I'd like to look at really quick just because they have so many good young players. Like they might have the most just amount, like just sheer volume of guys are like, that guy is a good young player. Like he's going to be a guy that works.
He'll end up at the minimum, a rotation piece somewhere.
Yeah.
Like that's the floor for almost all of their guys that have yet to turn 22.
Yeah.
That's all of it. It's weird.
They've got, let's just list them out a little bit. They've got Alperen Şengün, who's the one I'm the most excited about, and followed very closely by Jalen Green, who's like, their star guard. And then they've got Jabari Smith Jr., which is weird to like put him 3rd. But yet he's still like a guy that like has like potential all-star upside. And then after that, Amen Thompson from last year's draft.
Jeez Louise.
Who's like has some superstar upside potentially as well. Just, he's earlier on than Jabari by a year. Cam Whitmore, another guy that he fell really far in the draft and it was wild that they were able to end up with him. But they have him on this team. Tari Eason, for that matter, is a guy that doesn't have the star upside, but he's a guy that's like, I would be very surprised if Tari Eason does not have a 15-year NBA career. I would be very surprised, like barring
just because of what he can do,
or something,
Yeah, because of his
he's like the perfect 3-and-D wing hustle guy. He just makes a lot of good plays. He's like one of the best just projecting forward as a role player guys. Like I can tell that guy is going to be a successful role player. Like
a Jay Crowder type of just will always PJ Tucker. There's a lot of guys, they just will always have a job, and he just kind of fits that film, that mold. There's the word I was looking for.
No, yeah, absolutely.
But I think that also the thing that makes that interesting is they can go like any direction.
The Rockets, yeah.
They can okay, how do we... Obviously, like, the glaring need is they don't have, a super young, like, big. So that makes you wonder, like, Klingon, maybe? Because he's, like, a guy that has upside. He's a true big. But then Klingon seems to have slid. I've said it before. My dream scenario is Castle and Klingon end up going to the Spurs at 4 and 8 in some way. Just because I think them staying teammates would be awesome. And I also think that having those 2 giant presences, like I'm a Smeagol, the 2 giant rim protecting options of Wemby, obviously, and then Klingon as the other option would just be chef's kiss.
It would be hard to score
Admiral
on, for
Duncan
sure.
Part 2. It would just be awesome.
Yeah.
Just menacing. And then Castle also just has the upside of the, like, I will play defense. Let me go. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Just
at the least, he's going to be a good defensive wing. Yeah.
I feel like that's his floor. Is like a guy that he's not necessarily going to be able to get almost any points out of him, but you can look at what star guard, heck, almost even forward do they have because of how big his wingspan is. He feels crazy long.
Yeah,
like
no, he is. Mm-hmm.
What 2, 3s, whatever position star do they have? Go find them. Jalen Suggs them, or like it's. I feel like he's got the ability to be that, and I just think that is awesome in the hands of a Popovich. Where like,
that's true.
And then all you would need to find is like an offense. But fun fact, you have Wemby. I feel like found your offense. It's not that hard to find.
Yeah.
So
no, for sure.
I don't know if they landed them in that, and obviously there might be better pieces for them to get. But I just feel more than anything, I really, really want one of the UConn guys to end up being a Spur. Because I feel like even if you only have the, like, this is the defensive guard, Wemby gets the backside, or you have the bringing back the 2 giant bigs like they did with Duncan and Robinson, they would be doing it kind of again. Mm-hmm. I just think that would be awesome.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Yeah.
And I will do it in 2K if it doesn't happen in real life.
Yeah. So the Spurs, like you were saying before, how, this year nobody seems to really care about their draft picks in comparison to other years. I think the Spurs are probably the team that matters the most to them. Like that they're like their picks are like real.
Happiest.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And it's like,
because they're like, okay, we have our, sorry, I'll stop cutting you off.
I was just going to say that it's like, those are like spots in the draft that you're really going to be able to find like good players to build around your very, very apparent core, or your, which that apparent core is just one guy in Victor Wembanyama. And maybe a little bit of, I'll throw, I just forgot his name. No.
Jeremy?
Nope. Wow.
Vassell?
Devin Vassell. There we go. I'll throw Vassell in there.
Oh, there's your offense. You got, yeah.
Yeah. Keldon Johnson's a little bit older now, I feel like, but he's still, it's definitely fitting the timeline.
To think how fast the world goes, that Keldon Johnson is like knocking on the door of being like, if you have a hyper young team, he's still in the window, but like,
yeah. I think he's like 26 almost, isn't he? Keldon Johnson?
No way.
Well, I think because he went 2 years at Kentucky, didn't he? He's only 24. Never mind.
Okay, that makes me feel a little better.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing that is weird about this draft is there's like a wild mix of like freshmen and then like random juniors and seniors once you get like a little bit deeper. Like you've got like Tennessee.
But sorry, Keldon Johnson will be turning 25 before the season starts.
Okay.
So definitely getting up there for a young team. But yeah, sorry, as you were saying.
No, but I just feel like there's a lot of like, it's not just a bunch of one and dones. There's a lot of age coming out of the draft compared, and that'll end soon with the COVID years being gone. I feel like we'll have less of those. Mm-hmm. And maybe that's just also how the NBA has like shifted kind of in the fact that like teams that are good are okay. Like, oh, let's get a guy that's ready to play now. Let's go get a guy that's spent 4 years. I feel like that's an idea that's like more acceptable now. Like there was a window where it was like, if you're 20, I don't even want to look at you. You're too old for what I'm trying to do. And maybe that's still true at the top of the draft. But I just feel like there's some older guys this year that's interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. I think there's been a few years in a row now where we've had an older player go in like the top 4 or 5.
And I wonder if it's the COVID. I don't know how much COVID had an impact on that, but I feel like it had to have some sort of a impact on it just because of the wild wrench that was thrown into the entire world and just kind of messed with stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Another guy that I wanted to highlight really quick is a guy that I've enjoyed getting to watch and get like familiar with his game is Devin Carter from Providence. He's a junior. So he's an older one. He's a guy that might slide up to around the top 5 range at the highest, but that would be very interesting. But he's just like a dog, like he's out of all of the guys in this draft. I think he is the most like, man, I can't even think of a comp for him, but like, I mean, Derek White is a pretty good one, but I'm thinking more fire, like maybe a little bit.
It's like Derek, like a Pat Bev that's not bad.
Pat Bev that's like super athletic and like,
he just gets.
Maybe some Josh Hart in there. Throw some Josh Hart in there.
A little bit of Drew.
Yeah, Drew Holiday. I like that. Yeah. Like,
I'm trying to think if I missed anybody else.
We're building a little bit of
We talk about these guys all the time. Like, the Bruce Browns of the world. Those guys that get down and get a little bit dirty. Gary Payton a little bit.
Yeah.
Just like these athletic, I play defense and I like it.
And he can shoot as well. So he's got a lot of the things, that you're looking for. And he's also just a bucket. So that's why he really reminds me of the player that's like just by pure grit and ability to get buckets at least semi-consistently. He's a guy that's like, normally people will project him not doing that or replicating that at the next level. But, a few of those guys...
By sheer will, he will.
Yeah, like Jimmy Butler is a good example of a guy that's like, he was looked at that way in the draft. Is like, yeah, he can get buckets at the college level, but like he's, just look at his limitations. That's what he kind of reminds me of. Like he might be like
a guy that rises to the occasion.
Exactly. Or a Jalen Brunson, from just few. Well, that's been a while now. It's in the 2018 draft, but was a guy that went all the way to like 35 or something like that. He was in the second round, I think.
Early second rounder, if I remember right.
Yeah. So, but he won 2 championships at Villanova, So it's a guy that is really successful in college. He went to Providence, like I said, Devin Carter, and I'm pretty sure he won Big East Player of the Year in a conference that has UConn in it. But I guess it might be harder for one of those guys to win because of how good, how many other good players are on the team.
Yep. He was the Big East Player of the Year this year.
Yeah. So those types of things I feel like matter. They usually project forward pretty well when you can, get something like that. But also, yeah, the other thing was I'm pretty sure he led the Big East. If not led, then he's like right towards the top. Pretty sure he led the Big East in rebounds per game, and he is 6'2".
I'm gonna look this up. 8.4 rebounds is what he is listed as a stat, and that's got to be up there.
I remember it was around 8, but yeah, I think 8.4. Is that what you said?
Yeah, and I'm trying to find if I can find just like the Big
East rebound leaders,
or just stats, just like the stats of all players in the Big East. I don't know if we'll find out.
Yeah, because I heard somebody say that before, that he led the Big East in rebounding. So if that's true, that's absolutely insane. When he was literally in the same, conference. I couldn't think of the word. I was saying division. He's literally in the same conference as Donovan Clingan, and he got more rebounds per game than Donovan Clingan. That's just wild. But so yeah, he's one of my favorite guys as well. Just a lot of energy. I think that's probably the type of guy that will come out of a draft like this, like, where there's not like a ton of pure talent at the top.
He was third.
Oh, he was third? So who was above him? Was it Clingan?
Joel Soriano.
Okay.
Had 9.4 a game. And then Aurora, Nebraska legend, Baylor Shireman.
Oh, wow.
Had 9 a game.
Jeez. I didn't realize that he...
Clingan had 7.3 a game.
Okay.
I'm trying to think if there's any other fun, noticeable...
No, nope. But still, what are the heights of those other guys?
Oh, no, he's definitely...
Yeah, it's insane.
It doesn't make sense. It's like, wow, that's wild. I'm not sure the exact heights of all of them, but it's kind of craziness.
At the college level, I'm pretty sure Devin Carter was probably listed at like 6'3", I'm guessing, because his NBA like draft listing is at 6'2" so 6'2.3" is what he's listed at on the Ringer. So I'm guessing that's probably with no shoes.
Yeah, so 6'11" and 6'7" are the two heights above him.
Yeah.
And I didn't check the people below him. I know one of them is a 7-footer.
Yeah, Clingan, yeah.
Kalkbrenner, who was like, this is the top 5 was Soriano out of St. John's, yeah. Mm-hmm. St. John's, Shireman out of Creighton, Devin Carter, Supreme Cook for Georgetown. I have no idea how tall that guy is.
That's the name? Supreme Cook?
Is Supreme Cook.
Oh, okay.
And then Ryan Kalkbrenner.
Yeah, I've heard of him.
Creighton, going back to Creighton again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's dumb COVID.
But I've never heard of Supreme Cook.
But he did lead the Big East in scoring.
Devin Carter did, yeah.
While being third in
rebounding.
And he was top 10 in field goal percentage as a guard.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive.
Top 12 in assists. This is in the Big East. Creighton, UConn,
Syracuse.
ACC.
Is
that a joke?
It used to be.
Yeah, okay, They did used to be formerly.
Yeah.
Anyway, this is Nutso McGee now that I'm looking at this.
But yeah, so these other guys, though, I guess that we should at least mention some of the. You're reacting to something that seems noteworthy.
He's top 12 and he's 12th in blocks per game. I'm convinced I'm looking at a list of only 15 of the same players over and over again because he's on like every statistical list.
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. He's that kind of a guy.
That's just crazy.
And what you were just saying about his field goal percentage, that reminded me of something that I forgot to bring up with Reed Shepherd. The most impressive stat that I heard from him was apparently, I think it was from the corner, or no, it was just spot up. Yeah, his spot up 3-point percentage, or his points per possession on spot up threes is 1.56 points per possession. That's literally the equivalent. That's like a 77% shot at the rim. That's how effective his spot up 3-point shot is.
In the corner.
No, just anywhere. Just spot up. I started to say corner, but I corrected myself. It's just spot up.
Wow.
3-point shot was 1.56 points per possession.
That's crazy.
Yeah, that is insane. But
it has to be spot up. That's like that's
what I'm saying.
Caveat of that. Yeah.
So it's off the catch and stationary.
And then shoot.
It's just like open catch and shoot threes. But that's still that's literally what Victor Wembanyama is at the rim.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So pairing them together, that's you got the inside out game right there.
Yeah.
But I mean, obviously spot up three, that's not like a shot you can get whenever you want, but they will come, and it's very nice to have a guy that knocks them down at that effective of a clip.
At that clip. Yeah.
But yeah, some other guys though to mention, there's a lot of French guys. And so that might be somebody that gets taken with one of those two Spurs picks that are in the top 8. And so those guys are Zachary Risache, who is like a 6'8", switchable defensive wing, can kind of play some big man for you as well. Alex Sarr is more of a big man, but he is
listed as the number 1 overall pick at the mock draft that I'm looking at. Zachary that's
Risache, yeah.
I don't think I've seen him first in a while.
Yeah, I've seen him first a couple places, just as much as like any of these other 5 guys here, basically. But not as much as Sarr. Sarr is, he's been first a lot more, I'd say. But I'd say he's been hovering around the same level as like Mattis Buzelis for the most part, probably a little bit higher. And yeah, so then Olivier Sarr is the other guy that when the draft lottery first happened, he was kind of the main guy being talked about as the first pick. But he apparently said that he doesn't want to get drafted by the Atlanta Hawks, and he would rather slide to 2 to go to the Washington Wizards.
Which, in a vacuum, I understand, but like the Wizards, there's something like wrong going on there. I just don't think I'd want to be there.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like a good environment for cultivating young talent, but I guess he has a friend there.
Yeah, it just feels like it's like trying to be the Cleveland Browns quarterback. Like, no matter how good you are, you can't like carry that unless you're insane. But I don't think that there's anybody in this draft that's that insane.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's really anybody in this draft that is like guaranteed like a starting spot on whatever team they go to. I think that's a good way to define or describe this class. Is like most years, the guys at the very top, there's like guaranteed they're going to be starting and getting big minutes wherever they're going. But this year, it's like Olivier Sarr, if he goes to the Wizards at 2, he might be their backup center. Like that's,
and there's no guarantee. It's not like it won't. Like it might happen.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But the odds of it happening are not like 99.9%. Like
close.
They are almost every year. Yeah. Mm-hmm. That is a very good way to word it.
Yeah. He's just kind of in the mix with the other young guys there for the most part. So yeah, but that I think can probably do it. Oh, there's one more French guy, and that's Salon. What's his first name? I forgot it. Scrolling, trying to find him in this mock draft. I don't know where he's listed at going. Oh, I'm not going to attempt his first name. I've never tried it before, but his last name is Salon, and he's one of the French guys. Another big wing. So it's weird how many French prospects we're getting in, and all of them seem to be like a carbon copy of one another for the most part. You know, Sarr is a little bit bigger than the rest. He's like 6'10", but still. So that'll be interesting to see if one of those guys joins up with Wemby in San Antonio. And the last thing I'd like to point out is Zach Edey is a guy that I feel like he's more than almost anybody is like even more volatile and where he could end up, you know, where people think he's going to end up. And something that KOC's been on for a long time now is that he thinks that OKC should draft him at 12. And I actually think that would be the perfect spot for Zach Edey to go. It's a really good team in desperate need of size.
And the size that he has, not like Chet size, just giant, ogre, troll, thick, don't move when someone runs into you size. And that's what Zach Edey brings to the table.
He can just do the big man stuff. And that's all you need him to do.
You know who the Thunder really need? More than anything? Steven Adams.
I kind of thought that's where you're going with that, but I wasn't sure.
That's who they need.
Yeah.
They had him, if anyone's wondering.
Yeah.
And then they don't. He's a Rocket?
Rocket right now, I think, yeah.
Technically, right? Because he got traded before playing a game this season.
Yeah, he didn't play at all because he had a season-ending injury or surgery like 2 days before the season started.
Which was weird. I don't understand anything, and I'm confused. But Zach Edey to the Thunder, I think, would be an ideal fit because of all the aforementioned reasons. I think that's... And when you're a good team with as high of a pick as the Thunder have, because they are by far like the best team in this range by miles.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Like, we got only
the Bulls. Grizzlies, I guess, could be... Because they just had the season from hell. Who knows how good they can be this next season.
That's fair and true.
Yeah. And speaking of them, I heard that I think they were trying or the Rockets were trying. No, I think it was they were. Yeah. So the Grizzlies were thinking about shipping off Smart and the 9th pick to move up to 3. So they were going to trade that to the Rockets for the 3rd pick. I think that was the other way around. Now I'm saying that. I think the Rockets want Smart and the 9th pick in exchange for the 3rd pick. And the Grizzlies are like, Smart's pretty valuable to us, you know, which is, I think that's a good description of this draft. That Marcus Smart and 9 can't get you to 3. Or no, it can, but like you wouldn't want it. You wouldn't want the 3rd pick because it's you want Marcus Smart.
Also, respectfully, I feel like putting Marcus Smart and Dillon Brooks on the same roster is asking for like of Draymond
War
Jordan Poole situation. It's just
with each other. I feel like those guys would like they would be
almost like Morris twins back to back type of ready to go.
I feel like it would be them against the world.
Like a Mouse in the Palace could happen again.
Maybe.
No, Marcus doesn't have that in him. That's Dillon Brooks.
Yeah.
Marcus Smart would go in to get his guy out. That'd be the only reason he'd get in there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The only thing he would do is, shove somebody over on a moving screen or, flop on a charge or something like that.
You're right. They probably would. If they were on the same team, it wouldn't be like oil water. It would be just a big old bucket of water.
I feel like if those guys are teammates, they're pretty good at like, whoever's my teammates, I ride and die.
I will die for you.
Yeah.
But it's weird that they're like not the same player, but like good defense takes shots when it doesn't make sense.
Yep, a little bit ballsy.
But then all of a sudden it starts working, and then they like, well, remember that game 2 weeks ago? I've got the green light. Anyway.
Yeah. No. So, but yeah, I think that could do it for the draft. Let's try to get into these. Yeah, we'll do a couple mailbag questions.
Mailbag.
Yeah, this is something we've been trying to get going for a while, but we've always had stuff that we have to get to before. So yeah, we'll do a couple of those before we end off today's episode. And the first one, this mailbag question comes from David, and he says, do you think the Chicago Bulls are going to fire Billy Donovan within the foreseeable future? And if so, who would likely replace him? Love the show. Prayer amen emoji.
Heck yeah. I think yes. But it won't be like a firing. It'll be like, I want to be done. I don't want to coach young people and you're going to blow it up. That's the only reason I came here. Let me leave.
The exact same way he left Oklahoma City.
Identically.
Yeah.
And then, sorry, that was honestly, I didn't think us to be both on the same step of like, yeah, I know it's over. They got rid of Caruso, like Billy Donovan type of guy.
I think this question came in before that trade.
Oh, probably.
But still, like my answer would have been the same back then. But even more sure now that I feel like the Bulls do feel like they are going in that direction, getting younger. I think Giddey was a good return for them. I've heard some people say like it's wild that like they didn't get a first round pick along with Giddey, considering how many picks OKC has and how they were saying back at the trade deadline that they wanted like at least 2 first round picks, or at least one first round pick and a good young player, or 2 first round picks back for Alex Caruso.
And I think sorry.
No, keep going.
I think the like part of the biggest reason this feels wrong is because of like 2 things. How perfect the Caruso fit is for what the Thunder needed have almost like inflated Caruso's value in people's brains. Outside looking in. And then Giddey was in such this is like the worst possible situation for him to be in. It has like cut his value to a level way lower than it should be.
I agree.
To people looking on the outside. Like, Giddey is still going to be a pretty good player. Like,
he's one of the best passers in the league. He's one of the best passers on the planet. Like, that's a crazy thing to have at, like, he just has that skill already.
And so, like, putting him on a team where he is the primary guy and then is getting it out to other people instead of, they just had 2 Shays and Giddey was the worst of the 2. And so, like, you were getting diminishing returns.
Yeah, for sure.
Because minutes minutes they were both on the court, you essentially were just, like, cutting one of their productions to, like, 20% of what was possible.
Yeah.
And you're not going to do that to the guy that could mess around and win MVP next year.
Yeah.
You're just not going to do that.
And Shai's not, like, a great shooter, like, off the ball. So he's not, like, a guy that's really adding a lot of value, being set up as, like, kind of playing the shooting guard role, where he's coming off of an action and getting set up where a playmaker can get him the ball in a spot. Like, not having the 3-point shot ability.
Neither of them can do that.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Shai's not great. Giddey is dog water. Like, that's, like, the one part where you're, like, you try on defense at least. You're a great passer, great finisher around the rim. You find the right guy, great feel for the game. Just make yourself a 1.5% 3-point shooter.
Well, he's at that.
Yeah. Make it feel better.
I think
it's the open misses that get me. Yeah, it's not even like the fact that he makes. It's just ones where, like, a lot of the threes he took weren't like these contested Luka type of threes. It was like, I am open. this is almost shoot around. Let's get this 3 points and go play defense. And he would just miss those. Like when you shoot like mid 30% on those, you're like, come on. That's unfortunate. That's unfortunate.
No, I agree. I do think he was slowly getting better with Chip England there in OKC. Like he's, the most legendary shooting coach of all time. So like obviously being separated from that might be worrisome. Who knows if he can maybe he has the groundwork already set in stone, like that he can continue to work on that development himself or with also, whatever shooting coach they have there in Chicago.
Yeah, and if he doesn't need to shoot the threes all that often, it can get kind of hidden. And
that's true. But I do think he was on an upward trend, though. Like his rookie season, he shot 26%. But then in his second year, he was 32.5%. And then his last year was 33.7%. So he was ramping it up a little bit. And I think towards the end, it felt a little bit more like you can't just always leave him. He's more like Aaron Gordon, where it's like sometimes he can.
There's nights where he's cooking.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I really like him in Chicago because Kobe White is way more of a shooting guard than Shea or Giddey could be, because Kobe White feels more like the type of guy that even though he's a combo guard, can play point guard and run pick and rolls, like he can do all that whenever you want him to. He's a guy that feels like he's optimized even more as somebody who's, like what I just said, coming off of a screen, getting set up where he can shoot or attack a closeout, and then kind of do something in ISO, like, get him touches, get him the ball in spots that he's not the one bringing the ball up the floor and trying to get into everything himself. I think that him and Giddey could have a mutually beneficial relationship there. And I think will just work a lot better than having Shea, who's like really one of the most ball dominant, just because of his play style. It kind of requires him to be super ball dominant. And Kobe White is, even though he's like a bucket and feels like a guy that's like I don't pass, I'm a Kobe type of guy. He's like, he is kind of that guy that needs to be set up sometimes in some ways and can play off ball.
I think he's grown in that since he's gotten there. I think that was like part of the big leap he made this year was obviously the minutes and the opportunity inflation, as well as the like being able to play off of everyone else more. Because like that's another thing that it takes people some years to learn sometimes. Like all of these guys for a lot of their life have just been the best player by like miles on their team.
Yeah.
Like, and it's not close. So then like when they get to college, like there's like people that are closer to him, but like sometimes they're still the best player. Like Kobe White was probably still the best player on that UNC team. So then you go to the NBA where you are like the 10th sometimes. And like they just have to figure out that like, oh, I need to be like a different, like just rewire your brain. There's a couple people that are good enough to not have to do that, but there's not a lot of them. And that's why not every team in the NBA is always competing for championships, because there's not that many people that just are wired to just, or good enough to just take over and do stuff like that. So
yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, to answer your question though, David, Billy Donovan, I feel like might very well be on the way out right now from Chicago. Who knows? I wouldn't be surprised either way, I guess. If he does decide to stick around, because I also wouldn't be surprised if the Bulls decide to make the wrong decision and just do like a little bit of a fringe rebuild where they just trade off of Caruso and they trade off of Levine and try to re-sign DeRozan and like, you know what I mean? And try to like get something together to keep staying in the middle, getting the 8th seed every year, 9th seed at best,
just
somewhere in there. I'll give them the 6th seed at the absolute top, because I think that's what they got a couple of years ago, if my memory serves me correct, when they got swept by the Bucks in the first round, 3-6 matchup. That was 2022 or 2021 actually. That was the Bucks championship year, I think. I want to say, but yeah, so he could be the guy who gets sent out of there. And then the second part of the question is, if so, who would likely replace him?
Likely, or who do I think it should be? A name that is The name that I keep thinking of, and I haven't said this one yet because I want to see your reaction, is there's a name that they were previously a coach and they no longer are. Ryan Saunders.
He's on the Nuggets bench, yeah. He's our defensive coordinator.
That's where he's at. For some reason, I thought he was at Minnesota as the head coach. So why would he go back to the bench of Minnesota? That would be silly. Anyway, I feel like that would be a guy that has probably got to be like in the talks for some position soonish.
Maybe, yeah. I was gonna
because he got hired way young.
Mm-hmm. And it was a bit of a legacy hire as well with his dad.
Yeah, Flip.
Yeah, what he meant to the Timberwolves franchise. The best years by far they've had were under him. So there was a little bit of that going. And then, the guy though that is on the bench alongside Ryan Saunders right now in Denver, David Adelman, the offensive coordinator. He's the guy that gets brought up a lot more in like the head coaching positions. But I could see that one for sure. I wouldn't be surprised by Ryan Saunders either.
Or Borrego as another guy that if he somehow comes out of this coaching cycle without a job, please do it, Chicago. Just give him a head coaching job. I'm still confused why he doesn't have one.
Yeah, I'm too, honestly. I really liked what he was doing in Charlotte, to be honest, but I think we talked about that last episode. I think
getting fired doesn't make sense, and then you like even if it's just like a year, okay, they're just kind of like getting back. It just does nothing makes sense. It doesn't make sense to me.
So yeah, James Borrego would be a good one. Kenny Atkinson just got hired, it sounds like, in Cleveland. Yep. So he would be off of the list of guys.
Bickerstaff going back into the list.
Yeah, that's true.
As a potential option.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he's a bad coach either.
You don't think he's the best coach, is that you said?
I don't think he's like the best, but I don't think he's bad.
Yeah. No. I feel like I like Borrego the most there, or if I want to be completely objective about it, either Borrego or David Adelman, but I really just don't want the Bulls to take, or anybody to take.
But Adelman might be happy. But he's interviewing, so he's obviously very clearly not like, I'm content with what I'm doing. Yeah. Like, there's a part of him that wants to, like, kind of take the next step. There's got to be, or else you wouldn't apply at every job. Maybe he's just a bad interviewer. Well, I don't know.
He hasn't. I think the Nuggets have, because they have to like allow teams to, ask him basically. So like teams approach him, So he's not like he's going out and like, hey, who wants to see my resume?
No, yeah, but like then you could also be like, nah, I'm good. I don't want to do unless maybe you don't want to burn bridges. I don't know how the whole politics of that works in the background.
I think there's some people that, I've heard of this before. I don't know how many people are like this in the NBA, but just in life in general, I've met people that they're like, yeah, I take any interview I'm offered, even if it's like a job I'm not interested in at all. I'll interview for it just to. Because it's like an experience that they get something from. I don't know why, but so maybe he has that philosophy. I don't know. I just watched Yes Man for the first time last week.
Great movie.
It reminded me of that.
They ended up in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I was like so surprised. I've never even heard of that before from this movie. But it was like they had like a 20-minute section of just them going around Lincoln.
20 is a bit strong.
No, it's like 20 minutes. It's like 20 minutes.
They go to the football game, the roller skating museum, then they have a fight in the telephone. When they're driving around in the telephone museum. It's not the roller skating museum, it's telephone.
And then they're in the airport, like the whole, like the, trying to figure out, like that, there's a very long scene in the airport before they leave.
Yeah. Like, where should we go?
No, the other way around, like on the way back. That's where they have their falling out. It's like
that's not in an airport. That's at like it's like a country road.
Well, yeah, that's before the airport.
And then he chases her to the airport.
No, okay. On the country road, what happens is, it's funny that we're breaking this down, but on the country road, what happens is she asks him if he wants to move in together, and he hesitates, which makes her a little iffy, but they're still fine for the most part. Like, they're still, like, together. She hasn't run off. Like, it's nothing like, oh, I'm running off. Like, that hasn't happened yet. Yeah. That happens once they're at the airport, and he gets pulled over by and taken by like CIA people. I mean, I just watched it last week, so yeah.
Yeah, and then he has to say yes to everything.
Yeah, and she finds that out, and then she gets mad about that.
Once they get to the airport, my brain doesn't consider. I get it's like the Nebraska airport. It's Omaha, whatever.
No, it's Lincoln. It's the Lincoln airport.
Is it actually Lincoln Airport? Yeah. I don't remember that. Oh, that's crazy.
It's just funny how much they went to Tyson. They went to the Tyson factory for a scene. That's where he faints. The scene that you were talking about with the barn in the background. I like right when I saw that, I was like, I've seen that before, and I was trying to find out where it is. I think it's like this will only make sense to people from Lincoln, but it's like 148th and Q ish where that would be. It's like on a country road out by. It's like Walton, Nebraska, technically. So it's like straight east of Lincoln. But yeah, it's crazy. I don't know if the barn's still there, but
it's that movie was recorded a hot minute ago, so maybe
2007. Not. Yeah. So, but yeah. Anyways, that happened. That was wild. You don't usually see the reason why we're talking about this is because you don't usually see Nebraska brought up in that prominent of a way on a major motion picture starring like two heavyweights in Jim Carrey and Zooey Deschanel. It was a little
bit before her like ramp up, but yeah.
But it was after the what's that movie called? Her big break. The one with I can't think of his name either. He's got like 3 names, I think. He plays Robin kind of in Batman or in The Dark Knight Returns. Joseph Gordon-Levitt. Yep, whatever movie they're in together. It's like a young teen romance type of movie. But it's from like 2005, I think, something like that. So it was like shortly. That was like what put both of them, I think, for the most part, on the map. I think he was around a little bit more before that. That was her. No,
that one is that I looked it up because I was not remembering it. It was making me mad. It's 500 Days of Summer, and it came out after Yes Man.
Oh, it came out after
2009.
Oh wow, okay.
She was an elf in 2003.
That was 2003?
As a singer lady. Yeah.
Wow. The timelines of things is getting all out of whack. That's crazy. Elf came out in 2003.
Yeah. It was like a Frank Sinatra moment. Where like just all timelines have been jumbled and they don't make sense anymore.
Why is that Frank's? Of ours.
Between us two, yeah.
Okay, gotcha. I'm surprised you remember that. I mean, I vaguely remember that, the Frank Sinatra moment. I remember like being like, oh, I thought he was. I don't even remember when I thought it was or when it.
You thought he was like a 20s guy as opposed to like a 40s and 50s guy.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Anyway, we had only reason I remember because it was like a shockingly long like figuring out like
when he actually or who I was thinking of or something.
Who you were actually thinking of. Yeah, it was the whole thing. Anyway,
yeah.
But Jim Carrey was definitely a big build ticket name. I can't believe you didn't know that Yes Man went to Lincoln. I didn't know that they went to Lincoln. I knew they were at a Nebraska game, so I guess I should have known that they went to Lincoln. Like,
they went to the telephone museum, the one that was downtown across the street from the mill.
Yep.
But and it's apparently it just got torn down last year, a year ago.
Oh, it feels bad.
Yeah.
But I just know that there was the actual Nebraska-Oklahoma game.
Oh, really?
Actually, yeah.
Nice. But anyways, so the reason I started to talk about that is because I was talking about David Adelman having the philosophy of saying yes to every interview. And he could be a guy that, could potentially be the head coach of the Bulls if Billy Donovan does end up having either a mutual agreement to part ways or just straight up gets the can, with the Bulls. Who knows? But yeah, I think the Bulls are in a weird place where it feels like they might be kind of stuck in the middle. There's ways out of it for sure, but I just don't trust the Bulls organization in being able to get themselves out of it in a great way. It feels like they're kind of destined for the middle. They've been that way, feels like ever since Rose, honestly. Derrick Rose's injury. I'm going to stop talking because somebody's revving their bike at an insane volume. And I know that it's going to be drowning out my voice.
I can hear it a little bit.
I don't know how it's still going. Okay, there we go. But yeah, so that does it for that. The first official mailbag question that we have done here on Hoop Theory. And so then we'll wrap up with one more, and then we'll get out of here. And that is from Big Max.
Heck yeah!
With it's spelled MACZ. And okay, I thought I had read this one before. So it's how good would Stromile Swift be in today's game? I personally think he would be miles better and maybe even a top 100 player. He was pretty good at rim running and drawing contact, and I think that would translate well in the game today. Other players I think would also be pretty good are Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, Al Harrington, and Sidney Moncrief. What's your take on this?
Okay. I don't hate any of these, actually.
Yeah.
I don't think that they would... I think that he is a Derrick Jones Jr.
Stromile Swift?
As a top, I just think he's about that.
Yeah.
That range, I don't think he'd be anything nuts. Honestly, I think he'd probably be comparable to what he did ever. His best season, he averaged 10 points. This is guessing. I have no idea. I don't know how many points it was exactly, but
yeah, that
in
sounds
that
right.
Ballpark, that's got to be about right.
Yeah.
So I don't think that he's any better.
Really?
I do think that.
I mean, I kind of see what he's saying about he could be more of a modern pick and roll partner. Like it's just more of a
because he has the.
Yeah, I don't think he would be like a. I don't know if
does he have any 3-point at all?
Let me look at the stats. Looks like he did not at all. On his career, averaged 7.4% from 3.
Oh, he also attempted almost none.
He attempted 27 on his career. 2 for 27 on his career from the 3-point line.
So that is going to give me
better than the Houston Rockets in whatever game that was. Game 6, whenever the 3-1 comeback against with the Golden State Warriors, where they shot 0 for 27 straight to finish out that game.
That's a hard. I don't think he's going to work. Because I get that's not on a volume amount.
And yeah, who knows? Those are probably all heaves. There's not real shots.
But it's not like he played in the 80s where no one shot threes.
He played at a time that it was very, very normal for a big man to not ever look at the rim while he was behind the 3-point line. You know what I mean? That's still DeAndre Jordan is one of those players. He's not going to look at you think that DeAndre Jordan is going to even pump fake from behind the 3-point arc? That would be a sight to behold. Even a pump fake.
He's the crazy dunker guy, right? I'm remembering people right. He's got some just nasty dunks. Yeah.
Yeah. I thought you were talking about DeAndre Jordan for a second. I was like,
I am aware that DeAndre Jordan is the dunk guy.
Yeah. No, Stromile Swift is, he's a high flyer for sure. But yeah, I don't mind that one, to be honest. I wonder if he might be from somewhere that our Big Max, our questioner, is from or something. I'm not sure why he has this kind of connection with Stromile Swift. But I do feel like there is something there, to be honest. He's just like a athletic wing that with more space. In an era that just has a lot more space for him to thrive in, could have been something more for sure. I don't know about a top 100 player. That's a pretty lofty standard range. Yeah,
we need to build a top 100 together and then release it slowly. But I think people will be shocked who number 100 is. You'd be like, that's a pretty good player.
We're talking about all time, right? I think that's what he means.
I thought he was talking about in the NBA now.
Oh, then never mind. I think he could be a top 100 player in the league for sure. During the time that he would be playing in, for his era, I feel like in certain years he could be hovering around I mean, in order to achieve that, you have to be this
feels like a pretty safe take.
Yeah, the third best player on your team.
Yeah.
You don't think he could have done that?
No, I'm not saying I don't think he could. I'm just saying that I feel like
it's just surefire. Yeah, it's not like a.
I feel like the more and more I think about this, I think this is an extraordinarily safe take.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like not a bad take. It's just safe.
Unless he means a top 100 player of all time, which is what I thought he was saying. Because if that's not what he's saying, and he's saying just a player in the league, then that's not even that much higher than he was at his very best. It's like, I mean, it is a little bit. He's probably like a top 200 or 150 at his very best.
Yeah, if he's top 100 of all time,
that would be wild.
That can't be what he meant.
It'd be like Amari Stoudemire, you know?
That's pretty good.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. Like, maybe that's how good he thinks that he could be. Who knows? Stormile Swift's number one fan might think that about him.
I love the video of Abdul Rauf. I love that poll.
Mahmoud Abdul Rauf. Yeah, for sure. I think that is one of the best examples of a historical guy that is like meant for this era rather than the era he played in. For sure. I think he would be blazing the Nets if he were not the Nets like the Brooklyn Nets, but you know, the Nets on the hoop from making the ball go through it
a bunch of times,
which is the objective of the game.
And that's what he did better than almost anyone.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Especially off the dribble from three. He was like doing crazy Dame stuff before, not like that deep,
that level. Yeah.
He was doing stuff that looks like, wow, that's like something Dame would do. But back when a time that nobody did that because there wasn't a Dame.
I've got a buddy that's a Nuggets fan, and he's like, that. It's not really a buddy because he's like older than me and remembers. He goes, that was a dark time in the Nuggets history, and that was our one bright spot. Was just
for
him doing that. Mm-hmm. That was just it. That was the peak.
Yeah. And then Al Harrington is another guy he listed here. Kind of similar reasonings, I'm guessing, to the Stormile Swift, other than Al Harrington's probably a little bit less of like the freak athlete and more of like the hustle, dirty work guy. At least that's how I remember him from my youth, watching him on the Melo Nuggets era team. And so I don't mind that one. I mean, I don't know if he's necessarily better suited for this era, but maybe because of his size, though. Like in this era, he could be like a very, very versatile small ball five. That's like not very small for a small ball five modern day. Like
but he can move like that. Like he
can defend across positions a little bit. So maybe he would have a little bit more of a home here instead of being what he was considered back then was like actually a slightly undersized four. Nowadays, he'd be like oversized four to slightly undersized center.
Which is like what teams like almost want to have as like a gadget guy.
Exactly. So I don't mind that one. And then the last one was Sidney Moncrief, who's just, I think he's in the Hall of Fame, isn't he?
If he's not, I would be shocked.
If he's not, then he'd be close. I guess I'll put it that way. Yes, he is a Hall of Famer, 5-time All-Star.
Is he a top 100?
He'd be close to that.
So I don't know. I guess his argument would be he would fit in better in today's NBA than the era he played, maybe?
Yeah. I think he's saying other players, I think, would also be pretty good. But I think that is what he's trying to say. But so maybe he is meant for this era even more. That's probably the one I will say though that kind of fits pretty perfectly in the era he was in as well, being just a really good defensive guard.
Yeah. Yeah. Because like what would he be in today's NBA now?
Like a Drew Holiday plus?
Yeah.
Probably. Not necessarily plus on the defensive side, but being more of a star on the offensive end.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Drew Holiday at his peak and just add a little bit more of the offensive side. That's probably like a top 3 guard in the league, you know, which he was back at his, in his era too. So it's like, it's probably around the same. Like, you get what I mean? I feel like that type of player is kind of fits in any era.
Yeah, that's like the defense travels not only miles but through time.
Yeah,
make that a t-shirt. defense travels because like they say, like defense travels on the road.
Oh yeah,
you know? Defense travels
not only in miles,
but also through time.
Yeah, no, I like it.
I think Bill Russell would probably find a way to make it work in this NBA as a defensive player, probably.
Obviously. Was that a joke?
Yes, I was just saying that, like, that Hall of Fame guy that played good defense, he could probably find a place.
No, I mean,
you know who else I've thought about this?
He would be like Jared Vanderbilt times 10, probably.
If you could take like one guy like in history, like who would like be really helpful? I think that if the Thunder had Wilt Chamberlain, they'd be pretty good.
If the Thunder had Wilt Chamberlain, yeah.
I just was
yeah. For sure.
Honestly, out of all the random teams that I was like, put Wilt on any team and they're just way better.
That is the one team that maximizes everything ever. Yeah. It's ultimate peak, levels. Is putting Wilt Chamberlain on the 2024 Oklahoma City Thunder.
Oklahoma City Thunder.
Is he from Kansas? I know he went to college there, but no, he was born in Philadelphia. I thought it would be a little bit of a homecoming,
but alas,
just next door.
That stupid town still only has a statue of a pretend boxer.
What town?
Philly. They have a statue dedicated to Rocky Balboa, who's not a real person.
And that's the only statue they have, you're saying?
No, but that's like a statue that's like shots, like a sports like game, and they're doing these shots of town.
Yeah.
It's the Rocky Balboa statue. He's not a real person.
Yeah.
Wilt Chamberlain, while he seems mythological at times, he's a real person.
Yep.
We've talked about this before,
who was born in Philly and played in Philly in the NBA. Talk about what before, exactly? I don't know what.
The Rocky Balboa, I think it's dumb.
Oh, no. I've never even heard that before.
Oh, and there's also
I knew that he had a statue just because I've seen it in pictures and stuff, but I've never heard that take on it before. That's for sure.
And there's also like an insanely famous boxer by the name of Joe Frazier that's from Philadelphia.
I've heard of him.
Also.
And he doesn't have a statue?
No, it's a Rocky Balboa statue. He's a pretend person.
But just because he has a statue, does that mean the other people don't?
No, like, it's
not to the same. It's not like as iconic.
Yeah. Also, I'm pretty sure like a comedian's done a whole Bill Burr has done like a whole dive in on this. He's also like a Boston guy, so him making fun of Philly makes But it's just silly to me that like, oh, look at all these crazy athletes from Philly. That's like Charlotte, North Carolina having like something of like Air Bud instead of Michael Jordan. I don't know if Air Bud's from North Carolina.
That's like one of the best examples you could have given was that one right there.
I don't know where Air Bud's from.
I have no idea. Is he a real dog?
No, I'm saying
in the movie, like where he was based.
Yeah,
I have no idea.
Fernfield, Washington. So not
the other side of the country.
It's the same level of preposterous, in my opinion.
No, I agree.
To have an insane. Like
a statue of Bugs Bunny in Space Jam instead of Michael Jordan in Wilmington, North Carolina.
Yeah. Or
what? You trying to cook up another one?
Famous Yugoslavian cartoon character Andy Sham gets a statue in Sombor instead of Nikola Jokic. It's like that level of stupidity.
Did you just look up a Serbian cartoon,
and then a Serbian cartoon, and then look for one I could pronounce? Absolutely, that's exactly what I did.
Okay, gotcha. What did you even say? What was it?
Oh, it's Andy Sham.
Andy Sham
from Garden, Ashes.
Did you just say comma when it's just a comma?
There's just a comma there. Garden Ashes. It's a narrative. I don't need to. Garden Ashes will be a tidbit theory at some point in time.
Yeah,
I've just decided.
I just came across Wilt's many nicknames, and I just felt like that I have to say them because I'm surprised.
69 is that one of them?
Say it again.
Mom Sexer 69.
I do not see that one, but there are some that are close to as ridiculous. So we've all heard Wilt the Stilt and the Big Dipper, but right after that is where it starts to get weird. Dippy.
Okay.
Just Dippy.
Dippy?
I don't know. I've never heard anybody refer to Wilt Chamberlain as Dippy, but we'll let that one slide. Dip.
Okay.
The load. The load.
I like all of these so far.
The load. That's a name of a person?
It's fine. There's some nicknames that are preposterous. I got called Shamu for a while.
It's not that I don't like it. It's just it's a very crazy nickname. It's not, like insane that's somebody's nickname. The load.
Yeah, because he carries the load.
Big Musty.
That's he had a sick mustache. No, he had a whole beard thing. He didn't have just a mustache. No, he did have a sick mustache when he was a Globetrotter.
Yeah, when he was younger. Mustache. His Philly days too. He had a mustache, not like a big one, but
like a solid bar,
like a young Stephen A. Smith.
I was gonna say like a young Steve Harvey, but that also works.
Yeah, definitely not Steve Harvey. It's more like just like a that.
I thought he had like a pretty solid little briquette going.
Maybe, but I'm thinking of like the little in the picture I've seen, which I think is like his rookie headshot. But and then I think I've heard this one before, the record book.
Yep.
And then Hook and Ladder.
Awesome name.
Wilty.
Okay.
Whip.
Okay.
Whipper. And here's the last one, which I have no idea where this came from. Norm.
Is his real name like Norman?
His name is Wilt.
Well, I didn't know if it's like Steph. His name's not Steph.
I guess, but I think Wilt is his name. Wilton. Oh, his middle name is Norman.
See, it wasn't that crazy.
Okay, yeah, never mind. But still,
that is
I wish I didn't know that. I wish it was just Norm. It was one of his nicknames. But I know. That's an all-time. He might be the GOAT of nicknames. We'll have to find a competitor, but to have all of those, like the Big Dipper, Dippy,
by
Dip,
number for
the
sure.
Load, Big Musty.
Yeah,
that run awesome. Right there is just all-time for sure.
And then Hook and Ladder is like
Hook and Ladder. Yeah, I really
kind of like
that
a nice thing. You're trying to change thing up. You don't want to keep calling him Wilt the Stilt.
You're
just like
Hook and Ladder.
Big old Hook and Ladder out there. I don't know. It's pretty solid.
Yeah, Whip and Whipper. But all right, well, that can be it for today's episode. I think we wrapped up that question, didn't we? Yeah. What is your take on this? Was the end of the question? So we gave a pretty extensive.
It's a soft take, not a hot take, a pretty mild one, but I still liked it, and it was a fun thought exercise.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Guys, talking about what other guys we could transport in today's context. But yeah, thank you guys for listening. I don't know if are we recording a Patreon bonus thing after this episode? We are.
It is the Fame Monster.
Okay, we're doing the Fame Monster.
Honestly, I wonder if we should make the Fame Monster be the one that everyone gets a little taste of.
Piece of, yeah.
Because this one's pretty gas.
Yeah. Okay. So we'll that might be something that everybody can see. But if you want to see this and other ones in the future, after every episode, at least most times it'll be after every episode, we're going to be doing these for Patreon subscribers exclusively. So head over on to patreon.com/hooptheory and subscribe over there, become a member. There's a $1 tier and a $5 tier. Both tiers will get you access to this content. So yeah, just help us out if you want to throw us a bone, and then if you want to do it in just a one-time donation, but it will not give you, access to this amazing content every month or every week, really. You can do that over on buymeacoffee.com/hooptheory. Go check out the TikTok, all those things. We're having an all-time record-breaking video right now going up on our TikTok, me talking about divisions and whatnot. Go check that out. And all the other places. Follow us there in case TikTok gets shut down, which sounds like it might. So thank you guys for listening. We love you. We appreciate you. Stay happy. Stay healthy. We will talk to you guys next episode.
Peace.